Hello students, hello people, back to my YouTube channel. So in the last class we were studying physical world and units and measurement. So we will be continuing with that. So the last topic that we studied in that chapter was strong nuclear force. So you can refer the last class for that. Now we'll go for the next one, the next fundamental force that we have. The next fundamental force is weak nuclear force. So let us understand the definition of the weak nuclear force. We'll just see a small portion of it. So it is the force of interaction between intermediate particles formed during nuclear processes like beta decay. And one of the property of this weak nuclear force is it is a very short range force. It is a very short range force and its range is around 10 to the power minus 16 meter. Okay, so intermediate particles means nuclear processes, beta decay. So we will be studying about radioactivity or nuclear decay in 12th standard, where you will get to know that generally when the size of an atom increases, in that case the electrostatic force of repulsion between the protons starts dominating the overall nuclear force of attraction, since nuclear forces of attraction are a very short range force. In that case the atoms with very high atomic number become unstable. Okay. So to attain stability they want to decrease their size, and to decrease their size they undergo several types of decay like alpha decay, beta decay. So during these decay processes some intermediate particles are formed, and thus force of interaction between these intermediate particles are known as weak nuclear force. Okay. Next we'll move on to conservation laws in physics. So the first conservation law that we'll see is law of conservation of energy. So what law of conservation of energy states that energy can neither or neither be created and nor be destroyed. Okay. It can only be converted from one form to another. So in a way you can say that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, it can only be converted from one form to another. So all the different energies, so energy is generally never lost, it just gets converted from one form of energy to the other. Okay, so the other form of energy may not be useful for us, so we say that energy is lost, but in reality the overall energy, the sum of all kinds of energy remains constant. They just keep on converting between one form to the other. Okay. So we can say that the sum of all kinds of energy in this universe remains constant. Okay. The second one is law of conservation of linear momentum. Okay, so about the term linear momentum we study in detail in laws of motion topic. Here we'll see what this law of conservation of linear momentum means. So momentum is basically the quantity of motion contained in a body. Okay, mathematically it is equal to the product of mass and velocity. Like we earlier we cannot just define the quantity of motion contained in a body based on the velocity, because you can understand that if there's a heavier body, like if there's a train which is moving with 1 meter per second, and if there's a bicycle which is moving with 1 meter per second, so it will require more force or more effort to stop the train than the bicycle. Okay. So based on that we can understand that quantity of motion contained in a body cannot be defined just on the basis of the velocity. We have to also include the mass. So what law of conservation of linear momentum states that is that if net external force on a system of masses is 0. Okay, if the net external force on a system of masses is 0, then the total linear momentum of system remains conserved or constant, you can say. So a brief introduction if I like to give. So as I already explained what is linear momentum. Linear momentum is quantity of motion contained in a body. So mathematically linear momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Or we can write P equal to m into v, where P is linear momentum, m is mass and v is velocity. So we can see a quick expression for conservation of linear momentum as well. So suppose if we have two bodies are there, they were initially moving with certain velocities. Okay, this was moving with some velocity u1, u2, they collide with each other, and after that they move with some final velocities which could be different from the initial velocities. So this is u1, this is u2, and this is v1 and this is v2. So when they collide they apply force on each other. Okay, so that the force that they apply on each other is equal and opposite. Magnitude wise they are equal and direction wise they are opposite. Okay, now according to the conservation of linear momentum principle, the total initial linear momentum will be equal to total final linear momentum. So in vector form you have to take the things, meaning you should also take into consideration the direction. So here overall what we can write is m1 u1 plus m2 u2 equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2. Okay, where m1 m2 are the masses, u1 and u2 are initial velocities, and v1 and v2 are final velocities. Okay. Next one is law of conservation of angular momentum. Law of conservation of angular momentum. Okay, so we will be studying about angular momentum in detail in rotational system of particles and rotational motion topic. Okay, so angular momentum, we can see a definition, we can understand it in a way. So by definition, angular momentum is the quantity of rotational motion contained in a body. Okay. Mathematically, angular momentum is equal to moment of inertia into angular velocity. In short, we can write it as L equal to I into omega. Here L is angular momentum, I is moment of inertia. So again, about moment of inertia also we'll be studying in detail in a rotational motion topic. Okay, So in a way you can understand that moment of inertia is basically the rotational analogy of inertia. Okay, so what we say, like inertia is the in a way another a definition for inertia can also be that it is the resistance provided by a body in changing the state of its rest or uniform motion. Okay. Same way, moment of inertia is the resistance provided by a body in changing its state of rest or uh, rotational motion. Okay. When you are trying to change the rotational parameters of the motion, then the resistance that is provided by the body is known as the moment of inertia. And another important thing is that, like mass gives the measure of inertia, so inertia totally depends upon the mass of the body, whereas moment of inertia depends on both mass as well as the distribution of mass, how mass is distributed. Okay, so next we'll see conservation of angular momentum principle. What conservation of angular momentum principle says that if net external force, sorry, here we talk in terms of torque, if net external torque on a system of particles is 0, if net external torque on a system of particles is 0, then the total angular momentum of system remains conserved or constant. Okay, next conservation law that we have is conservation of charge. So let us understand the definition of charge. So here, okay, so this is the fourth law, so I should change this, I should change the color. conservation of charge. So here we can just understand the definition of charge a little bit. Okay, so we can call it charge is the property of a body by the virtue of which it experiences electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force is basically the combination of electric force and magnetic force. So both electric force as well as magnetic force is the property of charge itself. Okay, and we will be studying about charge in detail in 12th standard, that is in the very first chapter, that is electric fields and charges. Okay, so what this conservation of charge principle says that it says that the total or net charge of an isolated system remains constant. Okay. Or another way to state the same thing is charge can neither be created nor be destroyed. And it can only be transferred from one body to another. Okay, so generally to charge a body, what we do is either we remove an electron or we add some electrons. Okay, so inherently every atom that we have, in that the number of electrons and number of protons are equal. Okay, so if you want to negatively charge a body, you have to add some electrons. So for adding some electron, you will be removing some electrons from some other body. Okay, so you can understand that charging is being done via the transfer of electrons from one body to the other. So we know that overall the number of electrons and protons are constant. So if we'll take some system of particles, then the total charge of the system will remain constant. So if some body is, like if you transfer two electrons from body A to body B, suppose both are initially neutral, and total charge of this system is 0. Okay, so now if you transfer two electrons from body B to body A, then in that case this will acquire minus 2e charge and this will acquire plus 2e charge. And this will have excess of electrons and this will have deficiency of electrons. So excess of electrons will give this body a negative charge, a net negative charge, and deficiency of electron will give this body a net positive charge. So in that case, if we'll add the charges, then overall the sum of charges on these two bodies will become 0. Okay, so that way we can say that the total charge of a system of masses remains conserved. Okay, okay students, so this topic marks the end of this particular chapter, that is physical world, and we will be starting with units and measurement from the next video. Okay, so as I told you, I am teaching in a very slow pace. So if you think that it is very slow for you, then you can always go ahead and you can increase the speed. You can watch the video at 1.5x or 1.75x, and I think that will be useful for you. Okay students and people, thank you for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.